So the camera keeps cutting off.
We're not legally required. I mean, either but otherwise, if it doesn't work,
This is my one place to think. I was gonna be on TV today, running a meeting. Oh, everybody. When did she come home? She's home. She's home.
The audio is working, just not the video.
Yeah.
All right, we are live, so you know, we are live.
Oh, we're live.
Just no video.
I'm going to call the meeting to order at 4:42 p.m. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm going to go ahead and open public comment at 4:42. And public comment, we have the superintendent's report. That was plugged in there.
so Meredith didn't. You're
It's
saying
in under public comment.
Oh,
Yeah,
the
there's a
things
link
that
under
have
there. I didn't,
moved
yeah,
around,
yeah,
I was noticing.
yeah.
See, I don't see it anywhere.
Public comment participation in board meeting is the link. Just a board doc.
No, I do have a,
Reopen mine because I do have. I am able to. Oh, see it now. So I'll move it to the.
we'll move on to consideration of the minutes for the April 2nd, 2026 meeting.
I make a motion to accept the minutes on April 2nd, 2026 as written.
I'll second that. Okay, moving on. To the superintendent's student services and curriculum reports.
I can go next. Are you ready for me? Yeah, Katie
Yep.
volunteered to drive for me, so I have just a 6 slides for you to take a look at. It's that time of the year where our annual special education LEA determinations have come in for us. They come every April. And so you just have to keep pressing. You can get the whole slide up there, Katie, that's fine. And so just keep in mind that what we're looking at is data from a year ago. We get them in April, but most of the data that they include in the determinations are from the 24-25 school year. So always have to keep that in mind. And this is something that is part of the federal IDEA requirements that every state be monitoring how well districts are doing in all of the categories. And then down the bottom, just to remind you, obviously we'd like to be in the green. That's where we're meeting all of the requirements in a particular category, or we could be in needs assistance. The third layer is needs intervention, and where we never want to be is needs substantial intervention. So that just gives you a little information about the 4 categories. And then we'll look at the historical results on the next slide. And so you can see that in 24 and 25, they actually, and then they kept it for 26 for this new year, they actually changed the percentage that you needed to score in order to be in the meet. So in 2023, we could have earned 38% of the points. And this is like golf. The fewer points, the better off you are, right? You don't want any strokes. And so we could have had up to 38% of the strokes and still been in meets. And then in 2024, they changed that and they leveled that at 30%. So that's as much as you can get. And then for the first 2 indicators, results is one of them. I listed the indicators that apply to Southampton there: educational environments, preschool outcomes. And I know you're saying we don't have preschool, but we're responsible for any preschool age children. So we do have to find places for those children to go, which we do. So we own those indicators for Southampton. The second one is assessment, and you can see that that has to do with how well our students with IEPs do on the state tests for reading, for math, their participation in it. One of the things that we don't think about is in New Hampshire, parents do have the option of opting out of the state assessment, but then the state says, well, if they're not participating, then we're going to give you strokes or points for that. So it's important that our kids do participate. They also look at proficiency and they look at closing gaps of achievement. So all of those things are for the assessment area. Then we'll go on and look at the last two areas. Compliance. Those are all the things, suspensions, disproportionate representation, child find, how well we're doing to kind of encourage our parents who feel their children might have disabilities to let us know so that we can do the evaluations. And again, you're saying, why is secondary transition on there? We don't have a high school here. Well, we are responsible at Southampton for our children until they're through grade 12, whether they go to Winnacunnet or they go to Amesbury. If they have an IEP, we are responsible for their outcomes according to the LEA determination. So that's why we have that number of possible points. And the last one is other factors. They call it additional. Has to do with our grants. A lot of it this year, they changed a lot of the specific indicators for this particular area. Most of it this year is about grants. It's about compliance with any allegations that come forward and correction of any non-compliance that come in. So once we get a score in each of those 4 sections, then they look at how did you do in each section and they add them all up and they give us an overall determination. So in addition to getting a rating in each of the 4, we get an overall rating as well. And the next slide will show you historically where we have been and where we are currently. And so the last 2 cycles we were applauding because we got an overall meets. And this year we dropped back to needs assistance. And you can see if you look at the bottom row, I tried to make it a little bit bigger so you could see it. You could see how that fell. We need to have at least 3 meets in order to stay in meet. And so this year we dropped and we were in needs assistance for both the results. Again, that has to do with the testing and the results has to do a lot with preschool outcomes, I'm sorry. And then the assessment has to do with the testing. And so you can see the actual percentage of points that we received there. That 52.6% of points represents our highest points in assessment that we have received. And again, you want as low a number as possible. We need to be under 30% in order to stay in the meets. And then looking at the 45.5% for results, we did have 1 year a few years ago where we were higher than that, but still the 45 is above the 30%. And then in compliance, great job. We had 0 points in the additional with the grants, 0 points. So clearly in the meets for those 2. And that's where we landed for this year. The next slide shows you that the Bureau of Special Education Supports at the Department of Education provides us with support and assistance to us because we are identified as needs assistance. And so we are able to log on to webinars and seek assistance and directions from them with ideas for moving that forward. And we'll continue to do that. Happy to answer any questions. If you have any specific questions regarding any piece, I did bring the whole rubric with me. If you wanted to take a look at that, I'm happy to share it. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks, Katie.
So I was able to move the superintendent's
Okay.
report to the right section. Meredith did note that this week is the official teacher appreciation week. So we do want to extend our heartfelt thanks to all of our amazing teachers. We did hold our legislative roundtable prior to April vacation. And that's an area that we do continue to monitor. There are a number of education specific bills that are going through both the House and the Senate. And some of them are slated to be acted upon in the next week or 2. So I would encourage the board to continue to monitor via the New Hampshire School Boards Association. They do send out some pretty good email updates. And if there's anything, and we've kept you updated, but if there's anything that strikes that you notice, please feel free to reach out to your local legislature um, or legislators to voice your opinion on the bills. The last student leadership team meeting is scheduled for Thursday, May 21st. Additionally, the Parent Advisory Council is slated to meet on May 12th. Meredith wants to note that we do expect to receive our assessment results for access testing. That would be for our ESOL or ELL emerging bilingual students. That's later this month. SAT results were made available to our juniors at Winnicott in early May. And the individual New Hampshire state assessment results will be available to parents closer to the end of the school year once the testing is all complete. And I'll also note that that's for the parents, but when we look at the school and district have aggregated results, those are typically released in the fall timeframe. We have a number of end of year events and celebrations scheduled in all of our schools. So just a note to keep an eye out for on the school's calendar and website, and Katie will be sending out newsletters with any details for end of year events, including our graduations. And then finally, our last joint school board meeting is scheduled for May 27th. Thank you to all of our board members who were able to attend the joint board retreat, which was yesterday. So it sounds like that was a great opportunity for the joint board members to get together and discuss, shared values, mission, communication, and collaboration. That was all that Meredith had.
Okay. We'll move on to the principal's report.
All right, just a little bit about the New Hampshire SAS. Matt touched upon it. We are in the midst of it now. We started this week. Today we did our writing test for grades 3 through 5. Tomorrow was supposed to be our writing for 6 through 8, but because of the back-to-back performances of the play, we felt it would be best to move that, given the majority of our middle school students are in the play. That's today, tonight, tomorrow night. So that will be next week. That information was sent to families. Our students engaged in a project called America 250. It was a project as part of a giant football field size quilt to celebrate the 250th anniversary. And each student got a square that they decorated, talking about what America means to them or what the United States means to them, or just drawing something, writing some phrases. So that came out really cute. I just put a sample of some of the pictures in the principal's report of what they did. Those will be sent off and they will be compiled into a football field size flag. We got the blue squares, so obviously we're the star area, and that will be on display in Boston in October. So pretty cool, yeah. I mean, and they have squares from all across the country and Puerto Rico that have created these squares.
Wait, so all of the squares are going to be combined from all the schools and stuff.
Yeah, it's really cool the way they do it. They lay them out on large canvas rolls, basically, and there's pictures of it online. You can Google it and look, but they lay them out. They put the squares. They don't sew them. They either glue them somehow on large canvas rolls. They roll the roll out, and so it becomes a giant flag. The last time they did this was right after 9/11, and that's when this started, that kids mostly from New York and around that area did the same thing, and they created a flag, which was for 9/11. They're redoing it again. They were doing it in Boston, and now it's for the 250. So yeah, very cool. So you can go down and see it when they roll it out. Luckily, we're local, so I think that would be a fun field trip for us to take. And we are the corner, so I mean, although the flag is giant, I think, we'd be able to actually see where our kids did. Sort of along that, we also, I had reached out to apply for a grant, a very small grant from the American Battlefield Trust. It was to support our middle school students going to Boston as part of the trip to learn more about the Revolutionary War and see some of those sights and sounds. PTA also helped fund this, but along with PTA, we did receive $400 from the American Battlefield Trust, which will be put towards this field trip. I attached some of the thank you letters as well that the students wrote. Part of the stipulations of receiving the grant was writing a little bit of a press release and having students share some of their thoughts and feelings and write thank you letters. So the field trip itself was awesome. The kids had a blast. I said I've lived in Boston my entire life and I learned a whole bunch of new things that I never knew. So it was really cool. Just some updates for before and after school enrichment. We're doing a family pottery night, 2 nights. Families are welcome, all ages come as the family. And the first night will be just creating the pottery. And then the second night on the 28th, we'll be glazing it. We are also starting, which we're really excited about, a fairy garden club after school for our K-4 students. And these younger opportunities have been super important to me because I do feel like a lot of our other opportunities were for the older students with the sports and all of that going on. So we were really excited about that. We've purchased the materials. We have a ton of kids signed up, and it'll be run 4 afternoons. And they'll create a fairy garden. We've already started digging it out in the front yard where they'll build houses and paths and all kinds of great things. So using our students' imagination and having a lot of fun. Tonight is our drama club performance. It went off today without a hitch. I did not get to see it because I'm seeing tonight and tomorrow, but I heard it was amazing. Super excited to see it tonight. If any of you are available, it's at 6 p.m. tonight and tomorrow night. Tickets are $5. Those proceeds from the tickets will support the drama club, while snack sales during the performance will support the playground. And then
You baked things? People baked things?
yes, some people bake things. Yeah, we have just store-bought goods, things like that. And then lastly, there's just some updates for our school for what we're doing in the coming weeks. I feel like it's flying by. And we did schedule our promotion ceremony and lots of different, field trips, assemblies, and, different activities are all listed in there. So.
Move on to the finance report.
Thank you. So the year-to-date expenditure and revenue reports are both uploaded on board docs. Currently, we are tracking to finish the year with an unreserved fund balance of approximately $150,000. That's based on our current expenditures and surplus revenue, as well as accounting for the contributions to the expendable trusts that were voted on and approved at ballot. So we are tracking well, and we do expect to stay in budget through the end of the school year. Of course, as I always say, keep in mind that we do still have 2 months remaining in the fiscal year, so that balance could change if we have any unanticipated expenditures. Additionally, I'll note that I included our fiscal year 2025, so last year, our annual financial report. That's conducted by our third-party auditor, Plodzik and Sanderson. I had previously reviewed those results in the fall. However, this is that final published report, and as you recall, we Southampton received no findings of material weaknesses or deficiencies as part of the audit. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Matt. All right, moving on to continuing business, playground committee.
So we had a playground committee meeting scheduled that had to be rescheduled. It's slated for next Monday. That being said, I do want to update the board on one potential change that we will be updating the committee on Monday and that we will consider. As you know, we had looked at the feasibility of repairing the current playground. There was an assumption that the posts were anchored in cement, which would have been cost prohibitive, and it would have prevented us from repairing the playground on par with just purchasing a new one. However, we were finally successful in reaching the original manufacturer of that playground, and they were very helpful. They finally responded, and they had the full design from 25 years ago. Importantly, and what affects us is that the anchoring system was different than what we assumed. So, not to go into the weeds here, but instead of being anchored in cement, the posts go down and meet horizontal beams, which actually makes it much more feasible to potentially replace those posts and do a repair. Still expensive, but it is an option that we are going to present to the playground committee as a potential alternative to an entirely new playground. It's something we will discuss and look at feasibility. We still need to get pricing. We still have some details to work out. It wouldn't. There are other areas of the playground that still need to be addressed. It's not just the beams. There's components of the playground that we still would need to invest in. But it certainly is something that we should explore further. So we'll certainly update the board once the playground committee has been able to review and we have all those details, and hopefully we'll have a recommendation by the next school board meeting.
Great, thank you. All right, moving on to new business, federal grant general assurances.
Yeah, so this is presented to the board annually because as a recipient of federal grants, we need to essentially sign a contract assuring the state and federal government that we are abiding by the rules, that we're going through the correct processes. So this is that document, those assurances that we need to present to the board, and then the board authorizes the chair to sign off on. So there is I believe there's a motion on this. Let me just double check. So yeah, so it'd be motion to authorize the board chair, so that'd be Alex, to sign the FY27 general assurances on behalf of the board.
Make a motion to authorize the board chair, Alex, do I have to say his last, Rossinger, to sign for the FY 2027 general assurances on behalf of the Southampton School Board.
I'll second that. Moving on to the school milk and breakfast price recommendations.
Yeah, so as you know, we are recently required by law to offer breakfast, so we did implement that program last year or maybe the year before. I can't, even mid-year. In any event, we do need to set the pricing for that breakfast as well as our milk price on an annual basis. So we are recommending the board approve a breakfast price of $1.95 and a milk price of 30 cents for next year, the FY27 school year. I will also note that Katie took some great initiative and applied for a grant that she was awarded to provide a refrigeration unit. So we're going to be able to provide, which we didn't really have. So that it's going to provide us the opportunity to offer some more fresh options for breakfast.
Great.
So there will be a little bit more variety and more healthy options next year, which is great news.
Thank you.
I'll also note this is an increase in price for the breakfast. The milk is remaining the same, but the cost of this offering more items, as well as just cost escalation and the cost to we literally have to pay someone to go pick it up at Winnicott and bring it here because we order through Winnicott. We're not large enough to order on our own. So those expenditures are rolled in. The goal is to break even. We will likely, even with this increase, we'll likely still have a little bit of a deficit, but we'll evaluate the fiscal piece by the end of this year, because there was this year we've already implemented some of those changes, and then we'll monitor again next year and make any adjustments necessary for FY28. It's crazy to say, be looking at what FY28, but yes, that's the plan going forward. So yeah, we're asking for a motion to approve $1.95 for breakfast and 30 cents for milk.
I'll make a motion to approve a breakfast price of $1.95 and a milk price of 30 cents for the 2026-27 school year.
Second. Do they have to pre-order it, or like how do you know how much to get?
It's a great question. So the beginning stages, I believe, are going to be trial and error as far as we know how much we already order for the breakfast. We've moved away from they stopped selling the breakfast break bags, which combined, the cereal, another grain, the milk, the juice in one bag. They stopped selling those, so we've had to purchase separates in the last month and a half approximately. So we order 2 different types of cereals, just one juice, and then the milks, and then usually like Scooby-Doo snacks or Cheez-Its, another grain. So with this new system, I've gotten pricing and information just on all options. Probably looking at what kids at some point at the beginning of the year, there's yogurts, cheeses, bagels, there's everything you could imagine for breakfast, ranging certainly at different prices. So I priced out some different breakfast options. And I think we'll probably have to see what kids' interests are between fresh fruit and things like that, and trial and error to start it at first and then go from there.
You have a lot of kids that get breakfast.
We do. We do. I guess it depends on also what is being served. So certain cereals the kids don't like and won't get. Kids have mentioned that, it becomes boring and stale. And there's a lot of talk about having things like fruit and other items available. So I do think with more options and more appealing options for the students that they will really continue to want the breakfast.
Right, moving on to the award of bid for the Chromebooks.
So the bid process has concluded for our annual Chromebooks purchase. Bids were sent directly to 6 qualified vendors and 2 submitted bids. We knew going into this process that the costs of Chromebooks were going to increase. And in fact, the increase was larger than we expected. That being said, we had budgeted for a full maintenance plan. So we were as an alternative. So we were able to remove that piece and come in under our budget. So we are recommending award of bid to Connection in the amount of $14,101.92. And just as a note, we budgeted $14,475. So came in just under.
Make a motion to award the bid for Chromebook purchases to Connection in the amount of $14,101.92 for 2026-2027.
Second that. Right, take a look at the next meeting dates. We have an operations committee meeting on May 11th, joint board meeting on May 27th, and a school board meeting on June 4th.
Who's the operations person?
I will look it up.
No, it's not me.
I feel like it used to be me. Did I take it again?
I think you may have.
I did.
Operation.
If I did, I can't go.
Becky Burden.
I definitely cannot go.
Alternate is Laura.
When is it?
Monday.
I will. Okay, I'll have to check on rides and all those moving parts.
Playground committee.
Oh, I have a
Oh,
playground
playground
committee
committee.
meeting too.
Well, since Alex is
Yeah.
here, you should just tell him
Yeah.
he's signed.
That's right.
Yeah, Alex Rossinger will be,
I'll text Rhonda
Yeah.
and tell her to send something out, so, because probably neither one of us
she
are gonna
did
make it.
send something out today. But I wasn't aware of who was on it. It was your Alex.
I haven't checked my emails all day,
Yeah,
so.
she did send something out. Yeah, I do have a playground committee meeting here.
So what do we do about that?
So, if you have his cell phone, maybe just text him and ask if, let him know that neither of you can attend.
Okay.
And just ask him if he's available.
Please reach out to me.
If not, the meeting can still go on as long as there's a quorum. Now,
Okay.
obviously, we prefer to have representation, but
Mhm.
we can certainly just update
Okay.
you.
Okay.
It's really, I mean, the operations committee meetings really just to set the agenda. So,
All right, moving forward, I'm gonna make a motion to enter into non-public session under RSA 91A 3(2) at 5:12 PM.
Can I?
Second, thank you. So, second verdict?
Yes.
And Lauren Jordan?
Yes.
Something to